Hi, this is Steve, and welcome to my channel, Retirement Math, where we'll be walking through the math needed to help you make better retirement decisions. Please note that I am not a financial planner, tax planner, attorney, or CPA. I am not providing advice. I'm simply providing my best understanding of retirement issues through the use of Excel spreadsheets. I am recently retired, and I've been studying various financial planning topics for several years. In addition, I've watched many YouTube videos about financial planning. What I found is that there are a lot of people giving good advice, but very few who are working through the actual math. So I created this channel. Hopefully you find this content valuable. If so, please subscribe and press that like button. Today's topic is when to file for Social Security to maximize lifetime benefits at the individual person level. It's not about getting the highest benefit amount at your full retirement age. It's not about minimizing taxes or maximizing spousal benefits. Now, for purposes of this video, we're going to assume that you already have a good idea about what your full retirement benefit will be at your retirement age. So our focus will be about the timing of when you should file for Social Security. Please note there are many other factors that affect the decision about when to file for Social Security, such as are you doing Roth conversions, are you planning for spousal benefits, etc. We're not going to cover those today. Instead, our focus will be on singles, widows, and widowers. In other words, single income retirees. However, the concepts we'll discuss are relevant to those that are married as well. So our topics today are 1. How does claiming benefits earlier or later affect your benefit payment? And 2. When should you contact Social Security to start benefits? 3. How soon do benefits start after claiming Social Security? And 4. Does your birth date affect your benefits? 5. Does the particular month you claim impact your benefits? 6. How does mortality affect when you should claim benefits? And 7. How does inflation or cost of living adjustments affect when you should claim? So let's get started. Okay, the first thing we'll do is establish our test case. In this example, we have someone born in 1964, and because they were born after 1959, their full benefit retirement age is 67. So in June of 2031, they'll be entitled to their full benefit retirement, which we're assuming is $1,000. And for our decision purposes, the amount doesn't matter. The formulas and calculations all remain the same. But to make it more interesting and understandable about how the calculations work, we're going to use the simple $1,000. And later on, we're going to assume there's a cost of living increase every year of 3%. So those are our base factors going into this analysis. Now on the spreadsheet, I have a column set up for every age. And I've highlighted age 67 because that's when they'll be entitled to the $1,000 a month. But if they take retirement benefits 1 month early, Social Security will deduct 5/9 of 1%, which is equivalent to 0.556%, which amounts to $5.56. So they will only receive $994.44 per month during that first year. Now, if they take benefits 2 months early, it's another 5/9 of 1% for a total deduction of 1.111%, which is $11.11. So they will only receive $988.89. Now, by the same token, if they delay by 1 month, they will get 2/3 of 1%, or 0.667%, which equates to $6.67 for a total of $1,006.67. If they delay for another month, for a total of 2 months, they'll get 1.33%, which comes out to $13.33, so they'll receive $1,013.33. So this is the part we want to understand is how much can they receive at every possible age. So let's go to the beginning. And here we have the first column. The first time they can take retirement benefits is age 62. But the cumulative effect of all those deductions at 62 is 30% decrease in benefits. So instead of receiving 1,000, we're going to deduct 300, 30% of 1,000, so they will only receive $700. If they take benefits at age 70, that would be a 24% increase in their pay. So 1,000 times 24% is $240. So this person who's delayed till 70 will receive $1,240 a month. Now let's take a look at this chart. This chart shows how much they'll receive based off of when they filed for Social Security. As we mentioned, if they file a claim when they're 67, they're entitled to $1,000 a month. If they do it a year earlier, at age 66, they'll get $933, so we get 6.67% less. That's what these numbers represent. If they take it at 65, then it's negative 6.67, another negative 6.67, which comes out to about 13.34. If they delay or take early another year, say at age 64, that's another 6.7%. And then it's 5% up until the earliest age they can claim, which is age 62. So that's how we get to the 30%, is at any point in time along this line, whenever they file a claim, that's the amount they'll receive. Now, if they delay for 1 year, they'll get 8%, another year, 8%, and the final year, 8%. So filing a claim at age 70 is when you get the maximum amount of benefit. Claiming afterwards has no effect on your benefit amount. So they would get the full $1,240. Now let's start setting up our formulas in another spreadsheet. Okay, now let's start creating our calculations. The first thing we need to understand about Social Security is, when do you need to file your claim for Social Security? Well, they have a validation process that they go through, and if you call them or check online, typically it's 90 days in advance. So I would highly recommend you consider that. Give them a call, confirm that, but that'll be the key when you want to start benefits. So let's say you file your claim. For this person, the earliest they can file a claim is age 62. That's going to be in June of 2026. Again, age 62, not 67. But Social Security pays 1 month in arrears, meaning they pay 1 month late. So he will not get his first payment until July of 2026. He will receive 6 paychecks that year for $700, which is how this number is calculated. $4,200 in benefits if he or she files at age 62. If we go down a level, we'll see it's 8,652. The way that number is calculated is to take this 700 they started with, multiply it by the 3% COLA, and then multiply that number by 12. So this is how much they will receive each year based on living all year long. Now the next column, this person, again, it's the same person, but they decided to claim benefits in July of 2026. So they'll get their first payment in August, so they will receive 5 benefit payments of $704.17. That totals $3,520.83. Now the following year, it's going to be the 704 times a 3% increase times 12 would be $8,703.50. So here you can see for the year 2027, although they've received 1 less payment in 2026, they're actually going to receive more in total in 2027. And the same holds true for the other ages before age 63, or before the end of the year. So at 62 years and 5 months, this person files in November, receives their first check in December, it'll be $720.83. They'll receive one check, and that'll be for $720.83. But because the base number here is larger, they will receive more in 2027. But now here's where it gets interesting. What about the person who files in December of that year? Well, they won't get their first payment until the following year. So here, they've received no income in 2026, but their benefit amount is $725. Well, it just so happens that if you file in December and receive your first payment in January, you get the cost of living increase. So in their first year, 2027, they're actually going to receive $725 times 1.03 for a 3% increase. That comes out to $747. So you take that times 12, and that's how we get to the $8,961. But what's interesting about that is, look at the person who files 1 month late. They file in January 2027, but their benefit amount is less than if they would have filed in December. And let's see, at what point does the benefit become greater? So that looks like May of 2027, that number is 746. So it practically makes more sense to file in December of the previous year than to wait to take it in January through May of the following year. Of course, other decisions come into play, like are you still working? Do you have other sources of income? But consider the fact that it may pay better to delay. So in the rest of the spreadsheet, that's pretty much how this works. It's going to calculate how much they make each year, each particular year in that case. So again, for example, let's do this. Let's go to age 67. And if they just file normally, they're going to receive $1,000. They file in June, start in July, 6 payments. So they'll receive $6,000 in 2031. And then the following year is going to be the 1,000 times 3% times 12 months, or the 12,360. And then finally, let's see what happens if they file in when they turn age 70. So they will not receive anything until July 2034. But it'll be 1,240 times 6 is that $7,440. The following year, they'll get $15,326. So now what I've done is plotted out all this information. Let me scroll back to the left. And this is essentially from their age 62 to their age 95. Okay, so now that we've calculated how much in benefits they will receive each year based off of when they file for Social Security, what we're going to do is we need to add these up and get their cumulative number by year. So we come down here and we can see, all right, at age 62, this person will have received $4,200. And by age 62, they'll have received $12,852. So we'll go back up here. There's the $4,200 they actually received, plus the $8,652 they received in the second year. That totals $12,852, and that's where this number comes from, $12,852. But at the same time, let's look at all these payments for all these years, and that totals $480,733, and that should also be what is shown down here, and it is $480,733. So now that we have this, we know exactly when, how much benefits they'll receive at any age up to age 95, based off of when they decide to file for Social Security. So for example, if we look at someone who might die by the end of 2026, then they should take Social Security as early as possible. So in this case, at exactly 62. Because if they waited, they will never receive a higher benefit amount. So that'll be the next step in the process, is which column has the largest number in each of these rows. And to carry that one further, let's just take a look at what this is telling us. So they filed at 62. We're looking at the cumulative benefits as of the end of 2028. They will have received 21,763 in benefits. Had they waited a month, they would only have received 21,189 at this point in time. So that's what we want to do next. And that's what we have in this chart. This is the optimal amount they would have received to receive the optimal at each point in time. So what we are seeing is that any time before age 74, assuming they die before age 74, the optimal time for them to take Social Security benefits is at age 62 and no months, so exactly age 62. If they are going to live beyond that, then this says age 74. At age 74, they should start benefits at 62 years and 6 months. And by age 81, 225,000. And this is interesting because the mortality age of someone at age 62 is about 88, 81, 82 years of age. So that's how this can help us in deciding when to take the benefits. But what about these other ages? Age 81 is often used as a break-even point on some people's analysis. Well, what about age 82? So let's scroll to the right and find out at what age. That's, all right, here we go. At 65 years and 6 months. So at 82 and 83, that's the optimal time if you expect to live that long. Keep going further. Here we are at 66 years, 6 months. Going across. Is there anything for age 70? Oh, we're getting really close at 66 years and 6 months, 69 years, 6 months. But at no point does this reach age 70 for this person. So remember, this person, because we're going to look at other examples, this person, their birthday was in June, and they decided to start taking payments as early as they could, which was age 62. But it also depends on when they think they will die. What's the likelihood that they're going to live to these ages? And that's what helps them make a decision about when to take Social Security. Now, this table summarizes our findings. So, for example, this person, we'll look at if they decide to claim benefits at age 62, as long as they live up to age 73, they'll get the most benefits by claiming as early as possible. The next section down here says if there's a possibility they may die before age 85, then their best bet is to take benefits at 62 years and 6 months here. Beyond 81, it's 65 years, 6 months. Beyond 85, it's 68 years, 6 months is when they should file. And then 69 is the final. And here's the total amount they would receive in benefits from Social Security. So based on this analysis, they would never want to delay to age 70. Now, what if we took a look at each different cost of living adjustment change? Again, we assume 3%, but what if it's more or less? We'll take a look at that next. Now let's take a look at how cost of living increases affects our decision about when to take Social Security. Remember in our example, we took a person born in June and we assumed a 3% cost of living. And these were the decisions it had for us. Let's focus on age 82 because it's quite interesting. So if we think we will not live past age 82, the 3% says we should start benefits at 65 years and 6 months. But if the cost of living is only 2%, then we should start at 66 years and 6 months. In other words, it's a whole year later than this one. Now, if cost of living is 1%, then it's saying we should wait even later, 2 years from this point. So we should not take Social Security until 68 years and 6 months of our age. What it's also saying is the reverse. As the cost of living increases, the younger we should take Social Security. So at least the difference in from 3% to 4%, it's a full 3 years. If we go forward, if we go backward, it's only 1 year. But now you can see, as the cost of living increases, the 62 years and 6 months occurs later and later, and finally at age 95. Now, what this is telling us, though, is something pretty simple. If the cost of living in general exceeds the amount by which Social Security deducts for us filing early, then it pays for us to file early. So think about it this way. Remember from our graph that if you retire at age 66, your Social Security benefits will be reduced by 6.67%. Well, if the cost of living is greater than that, then it's saying, well, go ahead and take Social Security sooner because you're earning more in the 8% COLA than the deduction of 6.67%. Now, let's hope that we don't have this to worry about. And I'm using 3% because we really don't know what the cost of living adjustments will be over the next 30 years. So this is probably a good guide. You may want to shoot for 2%, but it's going to tell you that you shouldn't take it at 60 years and 6 months, for example, but maybe at 65, 66, 67, depending on how long you think you'll live. And finally, notice that it doesn't really tell you to delay until 70 for your full benefit unless you plan on living beyond age 89. But it's only under circumstances where it's a 1% COLA and you'll live beyond 89 that you would delay to age 70. So if it's a 2% COLA, you should start benefits at 69 years and 6 months. See how this works? So the optimal time does to some extent depend not only on your mortality, but also the cost of living. Now let's take a look at the month you were born, and does that affect when you should claim benefits? In our example, we used a person that was born in June, and we assumed a 3% COLA. So we're going to keep that constant. The only thing we're going to change is the month they were born, from January to December that same year. And what's interesting is, look at age 75. So for example, if they think they won't live beyond age 75, the decision point for this person born in January is they should start benefits at 62 years and 11 months. But if their birthday was in February, then it's 62 years and 10 months, 62 years and 9 months, 8 months, etc. All the way down to if they were born in December, then they should take benefits at the earliest age of 62 years. And this pattern is fairly consistent. It adjusts in most cases, it adjusts by 1 month, depending on what your birth month is. So birth month does have an effect on your Social Security benefits and when you should take Social Security. There were a few anomalies. I double-checked the formulas several times, but notice how being 1 month apart, the decision is 64 years, 11 months if you're born in January, and 60 years, 10 months if you're born in February. And then the pattern remains the same, about reduction by 1 month each month until you reach age 62. There was another anomaly. All the cells highlighted in tan show this anomaly, where it's not the same pattern. Like, for example, this says at age 67 and 7 months for a May birth, but 66 years and 6 months for a June birth. 67 years and 8 months, 68 years and 7 months. So these aren't typos. These are the actual values. So I was curious about that. So naturally, I checked my math again. And then what I found was not necessarily a math problem, but that the differences were so minimal, it didn't really matter that much. So this person here will receive slightly more because, for one, they're delaying by 2 years. But this person is apparently catching up quickly. So in each of these cases, it's pulling the optimal number without regard to what the amount of the difference is, but just the max amount. And that's what we wanted to do in this case. So I didn't worry about it too much, because it wasn't significant enough to make us change our mind about what the optimal time would be for us to take Social Security. All right, so let's move on. The final slide will kind of summarize everything we've learned. So let's summarize some of the things we've learned today. Number one, you can claim retirement benefits as early as age 62, but it's going to be a 30% reduction from your full retirement benefit amount at age 67. Delaying Social Security at age 70 results in an increase of 24%, but there's nothing more beyond age 70. Consider contacting Social Security 90 days in advance to allow time for their processing and validation. Also, consider claiming in November or December rather than January through May to get the COLA increase for that year. Recognize that the timing of claiming Social Security is affected by your birth month, but only slightly. And factor in a reasonable cost of living assumption and monitor that. Some other considerations are maximizing your Social Security may not be the best choice, especially if you're married. Consider the impact of both spouses' Social Security. Number two, be aware of the taxation on Social Security and how provisional income affects it. You may want to take Social Security early to stay under those thresholds, depending on your other sources of income. Number three, if you have a lot of pre-tax retirement funds, you may want to delay taking Social Security to give you more time to do Roth conversions. And four, good financial planning often involves integrating many decisions that are interrelated. Seek the advice of qualified financial planners so they can help you make the best decisions for your personal situation. And finally, please let me know how you liked this video. Please understand that I'm a one-man show. I don't have a production team working behind the scenes. I don't have a producer, a scriptwriter, and it takes a while to develop this content. But if there's a need for it, then I will invest in better equipment and try to make each video better than the previous one. Thanks for your time, and I hope you found this useful. Bye.